shows we'll see like one character who is, say, lesbian, so you get like the ambassador to Lesbotopia is Lexa in that show. So when she's gone, it's all gone, right? So, but what happens in a show like Orange is the New Black, where they did do things, does it still fall into that trope? Or because there's so many characters in that singular show, is it different somehow?
Who say still dead?
Well, and also like,
Still fall into, yes, but they still fall into the trope.
yes, and it actually, for me personally, for Autostraddle, I would love for everyone to go read our Orange is the New Black reviews, because we had a lot of queer black women reviewing that and talking about the intersectional damage of killing off another black woman in such a violent way. And I don't want to speak over them or speak to that, but I think going to read those reviews is really important, because not only are you falling into the bury your gays trope, but the damage that I think that does is, it's hard. It's just horrible.
That one deserved a lot more
Yeah.
publicity than it got.
Yeah.
Right. Next question. Over there in the back, because I saw you before. Yeah, that's you.
I have a question that's kind of, the panel started talking about ethics and whether something's unethical. I mean, we're specifically talking about the 100 situation is, you know, actively courting a group, tweeting them that, like, watch the show, you're gonna love what happens next, and then doing something that they really don't love is, like, kind of unquestionably unethical. But would you guys go so far as to say that, like, I think we all know that just using tropes is lazy writing. But would you go so far to say that at this point, with where we are with queer female representation, that the bury your gays trope, or that these tropes affect how queer women or trans women are perceived, is in itself unethical?
Well, I think that, it's two separate questions, I think, for lesbian and bisexual women and trans women, because like trans women on television have been mistreated so horrifically that it's just so far beyond like bury your gays. But in terms of bury your gays, one of the huge successes of Lexa's, the movement around Lexa, is that there is no showrunner on earth who can now be like, I did not know bury your gays existed. Like, you know. So if you're doing it purposefully, and you're doing it knowing it hurts the community, and you're doing it knowing the backlash is coming your way. So, yeah.
I think right now in time, a showrunner would really be hard pressed to kill a character and not have it fall into the trope. I don't know how you could do it right now. I mean, maybe when there's more parody, when there's more representation, when it really is, and a character could die, maybe.
What if a straight white guy with a vision does it, though?
Exactly. You take his vision and shove it.
I just don't think it's possible not to fall into the trope right now.
So yeah, I mean, I would agree. Like at this present moment, if someone were to use that trope, I would say that it is unethical, because there's no way not to know how it impacts the community at this point.
And also,
and so if you are using it, you are doing active harm.
Yeah. And the justification for so long was that like we had so many, like, well, now we have so many characters, and marriage equality is a thing, and like Obama's changed the world. It's not like we're ever going to get Donald Trump as a president. So it's not, like now you're doing it knowing that the political situation is as dire as it is, and so you're putting active harm into a world that's not the same world that it was even just 6 or 8 months ago.
And I would like to remind everybody that all those deaths were being written while marriage equality was being celebrated. So if just think about that for a second.
Right, and also because it is possible to have drama on your show, it is possible to write off a queer character from a show without killing them. Like, there is zero excuse for writing out a character by killing them, because there are plenty of ways to write a character out of a show without killing them. And one of the things I loved most was that I interviewed Kat Perrell for the website that I wrote for, and like when they wrote Wynonna Earp, they had no idea what was going to be coming. In what I call on the website I write for, I have dubbed it the spring slaughter. So it's like the spring slaughter of all of the women-loving women on TV. So they had no idea, but the fact that then Wynonna Earp exists, like you have a canonically lesbian character getting shot
With a vest.
with a vest on, and then Supergirl did that, like what is now twice, because Alex was shot in season 1, but that was before we knew, and Maggie. So like there are ways to like create drama without actually killing them. So again, to do it now is just to spit in the face of everything.
Right,
So,
like if you like, how many people in this room have drama in their lives, right? We're like, what's your
and not because my friends are dying, like, or
We have time for 2 more questions. I want to make sure you guys get to tell us more advice. Here we go. Moving right on.
So, in going forward from here, we keep talking about very gaze trope, and I see television changing. We talk about Winona Earp, we talk about Supergirl. I guess going forward, if we can bury the very gaze trope, one thing that I would be interested in knowing your views about is, okay, so they're not killing the character, but we're also not seeing the intimacy in lesbian relationships that we see in our heterosexual relationships, and as much as I love Supergirl, I think that they definitely fall into that. And so, I mean, at what point can we bury the very gaze trope, say, okay, everybody knows about it, where do we go from here, and start building a conversation on showing true lesbian relationships and true lesbian experiences?
I think we absolutely need to be having that conversation simultaneously with this one.
Yep.
There's no question about that,
Right.
because that's obvious homophobia that's happening there as well.
Yeah,
You know, oh, we're not killing them, so therefore you should be happy. You know, that's a really low bar.
yeah,
That's an incredibly low bar.
that's like the bar is on the floor. Right, and that to me, I mean that's part and parcel of the idea of ethics of storytelling, because ethics is not just about killing off queer characters. It's about how do we tell stories of anyone that belongs to any marginalized community. And it's not just about are we killing them or not. It's are we giving them space? Are we giving them
Screen time.
screen time? Are we
letting them have sex with the lights on?
right?
Or sex at all.
Right? Are we giving them like happy, healthy relationships, or are they entirely dysfunctional? Which is another common television trope, is that if they're not dying, they're really unhealthy.
Like, remember in Lost Girl, when Bo and Lauren like kissed for the first time and it was fully bright in the room? I was like, what's happening? Something's wrong with my television.
We have time for actually 2 more now because they just gave me the 5-minute warning. So right here in the front was next, and then we're going to you, and then y'all can make friends.
So here, I'm gonna be completely honest. I've never seen the show, so I had no idea what you guys were talking about in terms of Lexa being killed off and anything. But I did get the gist of idea of with ethics and storytelling and telling the proper narratives. And I feel the rage on this end where you're saying we're not being represented more, you're not showing more of what we are and what we do and can do. But who is doing it right now? Have you seen a show or somewhere on TV or a movie where they actually did it right?
Winona Earp.
Carol, director Todd Haynes.
I actually think that up until like the last, there are some episodes where it's better or not, but I actually think that Sandverse on Supergirl is
For the first half of the season,
is amazing and one of the best written stories I'd seen, especially about an older woman coming out. Like that was so well done.
One day at a time.
One day at a time.
Yeah, Orange is the New Black, I think, still definitely deserves your support, not only because it's, it's telling a lot of stories with a lot of women of color, it's telling, May and Sadie both mentioned Transparent in the last panel for, that show obviously has a lot of, it's really complicated, again, you can read a lot of great criticism from trans women at Autostraddle. It's very complicated, but it's doing some really special stuff.
Steven Universe.
Steven
Universe.
Universe.
I will say that too the day I die.
Steven Universe is doing it the best, absolutely.
Oh, right, yeah. They hands down, I would say, hands down, Steven Universe is doing it the best on TV right now.
And do these shows, any of them are intersectional anyway across race, gender, and sexuality?
Steven Universe definitely
Steven
is.
Universe and Orange is the New Black, I would say.
And then One Day at a Time.
And One Day at a Time,
Yeah, which
definitely
is,
One Day at a Time.
Yep, because it's about a Cuban family.
All right, for our last question, please.
Speaking about ethical storytelling, what's your take, briefly obviously, on subtext?
Subtext.
Once you've had, for me anyway, once I had text, I could never go back.
Right. And there's, in some ways, there's not a lot of excuses now for subtext. Like compared Steven Universe to Legend of Korra, for people who know Legend of Korra. Like, Legend of Korra existed at a time when it was not acceptable to show woman-loving woman relationships on television. So it had to be subtext, otherwise they would literally not have been able to make the show that they did. Legend of Korra then, I think, actually opened the space for a show like Steven Universe. But now that Steven Universe exists, there's no excuse to go back. Like, it's that step. Once you take a step that something can exist as text, there's no excuse for subtext. There's no excuse for subtext after that.
I'm still gonna keep reading Super Court fanfiction and Super Cat fanfiction. fiction. I love subtext fan fiction, but like, come on, like, we passed that point. When Steven Universe is a show geared toward children and it is doing queer relationships better than anybody else, like, there's just no excuse.
Well, when mainstream media reviewers like TV Line can say like, hey, I totally thought Lena was going to kiss Cara. Like, if mainstream media is sensing that there's some like strong subtext there, like maybe it's time to actually do something.
You know, I looked this week because I was looking up the name of that actor who plays the character of Mon-El on Supergirl, because like, in our recaps, Valerie just keeps calling him like all these kind of things like white bread, and no ice cream, whatever. But anyway, I just looked up Mon-El, and there were like 50 articles, and they were like, Supergirl has a Mon-El problem. Like, and I was like, thanks, Gawker, you're right. Supergirl does have a Mon-El problem.
All right, thank you guys so much. Please give a round of applause for